okay, now hold on. And it's just like, I can't finish my brain doesn't work like that. I can't finish my thoughts. Hi, and welcome to the second edition of the City Current. I'm Jeremy Farmer, and with me today is newly appointed interim city manager as of June 1st-ish, Diane Stoddard. Diane, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Mayor?
You know, I'm great. Another dollar for the kitty there.
All right.
But no, I just figured it would be good for us to sit down and have a conversation because, you know, the city manager position in Lawrence is pretty funny. When I've gone to conferences and heard people and had conversations about Lawrence, they've said, you know, Lawrence's city manager position is so important in the community, and they said we don't know many other communities that have like a city park named after a city manager, as opposed to a commissioner or a mayor or something like that. So, so the city manager position is important, and you're going to be taking over when Dave Corliss departs for Castle Rock, Colorado, here shortly, in less than a month, and it's super exciting.
Yes.
So I just figured we should just let people get to know who you are and introduce you and tell your story, and maybe I'll ask you a few fun random questions.
All right, good.
So who is Diane Stoddard?
Well, I'm a Lawrence native. Grew up here and went to school here. I went to KU for both of my degrees, and then I got married, and my husband is a teacher at Ottawa High School.
Okay.
And together we have two boys that we're very busy with all the time. They both play soccer, and so during the week I'm like a work for the city and do a lot of that, and on the weekends I'm soccer mom. So.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
You stay pretty busy with that then.
Stay very busy with that.
Well, so you know, you grew up in Lawrence. How has this community changed since you grew up here? What's different about it? What have you noticed? Because I know just in my time here, you know, I was here for the first 18 years, then I moved away and then came back, and it was totally different in those 10 years. So what is the scope of Lawrence that you've seen, and how's it different?
Well, growing up here in the 70s and 80s, I mean, Lawrence was a lot different, a lot smaller, I think, and you know, before, I remember the time, I'm old enough to remember the time, you know, before K-10 was completed, and before we had quite the amount of infrastructure and speeds that we have on I-70 and things like that. So Lawrence, I think, just felt like a smaller community then. It seemed like we had a lot less people that commuted back and forth either to Kansas City or Topeka, you know, but now we have a lot of people that go there for work and go to Topeka for work, and then people that come here for work from both sides. And so that's one of the things that I think is different and has probably affected our community somewhat. We have so many people who live here and choose Lawrence to live, but maybe work someplace else, and that's really changed. Of course, when I went to school, I graduated from Lawrence High. That was the only high school then, and having two different high schools now, and having a number of middle schools that we have. You know, those are some of the changes, but just kind of go with the territory of being a larger community, I guess. Yeah. The university has always been a major influence for the community, I think, and so that obviously continues and is really strong for Lawrence. But you know, it was growing up too, and that's where my dad worked, and I know a lot of people had employment associated there too.
So I've always wondered this, because my eyes have certainly been opened in the last 2 years, and things that I didn't notice before I notice now. I remember driving to another community a few weeks ago, and I kind of saw how their city streets were designed, and I remember thinking to myself, that was really dumb. Like, they should have done that a little bit differently. So growing up here and then getting involved in city government, how does your eye on all of that stuff change for what you observe and what you notice and what you think about? Because you've got a wealth of knowledge. I mean, you've been in several communities, and now you're at the top job in Lawrence essentially. And as far as city government goes, how has what you see when you go to other communities or when you look at Lawrence over the years, how's that changed since you've gotten involved in city government?
Well, of course, when I lived here and I was going to school here, I, was maybe like any citizen was in terms of knowing what was going on in the community, but I wasn't living it every day, and
Right.
I really wasn't connected quite in that way. So all of my jobs until I came back here in 2007 were all with other cities, and of course the community when I left here, it was we moved in, I think it was 1994,
Okay.
and then I came back in 2007. So I was gone quite a period of time there, and a lot had really changed in Lawrence over those years, particularly with the growth, toward the west and that kind of thing. I guess just coming back, having worked for other cities and then working here for the city, I became obviously very aware of all the different, the interrelationships between the city and a lot of our partners in the community, what kind of work we do with the county and the school district and the university, certainly, and all those things, if you're not involved in it, you may not see it. And so it was interesting to see how the dynamic was in those relationships here
Right.
in my hometown versus maybe how they were in other communities that I worked in.
Yeah.
It was just it's a different perspective.
Totally a different one, and I would have never thought that there was this much of another world walking through the portal of like an election. It's just like your eyes are opened up and you see something completely different. So, all right, best place to eat lunch in Lawrence. What's your top place? What?
I've got to go with Free State.
Free State Brewery.
Yeah, Free State Brewery.
All right. What is the one thing that you can remember that used to be here that's not here anymore that you miss the most? Restaurant, store, anything.
Well, one thing that I really did like is like the Vista drive-in. That used to be the A&W.
That's right.
Root beer place, and that was nice. That was a fun place, and so I miss that.
Do you remember Buc-ee's?
I do remember Buc-ee's.
Gosh, they had the best hamburgers growing. Of course,
Yeah.
9th and Iowa, where Beamer's is now. This community's changed a lot over the years, and I remember the Dollar Theater. Remember that out in South Lawrence?
Yes.
It's just amazing. Gosh, bringing back some memories.
And the skating rink.
And this, of course, yeah.
The skating rink was a big deal. That was like my junior high years were like gravitated around the skating rink and Friday nights.
With all that good music and
Yeah.
the crazy lights that were going on. So,
the black lights.
oh, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Oh my goodness. Well, so the city organization in and of itself is a pretty big organization. Talk about city staff and the role that they play in the day-to-day operations and how important they are to our community.
Well, our staff is just really critical, and one thing about Lawrence is we have really outstanding staff. As I know you know, and having worked in other places, I know the type of staff that some of the other cities have, and our staff is just fantastic. And like a lot of other things about Lawrence, we have a very well-educated staff, a very hardworking staff, and I think that's reflected in a lot of things that you see with what services are delivered and how services are delivered here. So, people really care a lot about Lawrence, and I think that you see that reflected. And they're absolutely critical to everything that happens. Our staff have a lot of latitude during the day with how they are delivering things and what they're doing and how they're responding to citizens. So we take that very seriously, and obviously we want to provide a very high level of service to everybody in Lawrence, and I think that we really do deliver that every day with a lot of things that that people really take for granted. You know, when they get up in the morning, that they've got water there to brush their teeth, and the toilet is flushing, and you know, they're hopefully yeah, that's always a good thing. And you know, that they're able to drive to work, and the signals are working, and there's a road for them to go on, and a lot of things that happen that we just kind of all take for granted every day, and that if there's an emergency, there's somebody to respond. And so these are all things that, you know, you may go through your day and not really even think about because you just expect them to be there. And that's what our staff does all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It never ends.
I mean, if there's a signal out in the middle of the night, not that's programmed to go out, but that just goes out, I mean, we go out and fix it. There's a road that cracks, you know, and we get a call on it, we go out and fix it. I mean, I love what you said there, that regardless of whether or not we see it, it just kind of happens. And it's not that we take it for granted, but I guess not noticing things in this context is a good thing because it means that they're working. That
is right. That's right. And that's an interesting thing with our services that we provide, because usually if everything is working, we're not getting complaints and things are just running. But so much of our services do just run, and that's what people's expectations are, and that's what we try and provide.
So you talked about being in other communities. Where else have you been over the years? And talk to me about some things, some lessons that you've learned, some gems that you've kind of carried with you throughout the years, that, or maybe some quotes that have meant a lot to you, or just some thoughts that folks have had that have really made an impact on your life.
Okay, so other cities that I've worked, I worked for the city of Lenexa and the city of Ottawa, and then I worked for the city of Manhattan for about 12 years.
But you're not a Wildcat, you're a Jayhawk.
I'm a Jayhawk.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
They just barely tolerated me out there for that period of time, but I always had fun in basketball season, and then they had fun with me in football season. But, well, I would say that one theme that I have noticed over my career is just how oftentimes things that happen in communities that are really great things happen because there's collaboration that's involved. And whether it's interlocal collaboration that's happening, whether it is collaboration amongst employees or departments or that kind of thing, usually that's what's required to get things accomplished. And I look at some of our really successful partnerships, like the BTBC at KU and all the things that they're doing, and what a successful partnership that is. And those kinds of things that's what it's all about, us being able to come together and put things like that together. I've just come to really appreciate Kansas, and obviously I've stayed here, and there's a reason for that. I love Kansas. I love this area of Kansas and the people. And
so Ottawa was Kansas, not Canada.
Ottawa was Kansas.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, not the Canadian one.
All right.
Yeah. So, just being able to work with the people that we have in this region every day has just been fantastic. And you go someplace else, and people just aren't quite the same.
It's just different.
It is different.
It's totally different.
It is different. And, for those people who've gone away for a longer period of time somewhere else, and I have worked out of state before, when you come back to Kansas, you really come to appreciate the people and the place.
So collaboration being a key, just building on that thought for a second, there's a lot of need for that in this community. I mean, there have been people that have expressed that process is super important here, and that getting things done, regardless of what those things may be, may take a little bit longer, but in the long run, that's not a bad thing because we get it right. So how important is collaboration, not just amongst each other, but also with City Hall in your new role and the citizens of our community?
Well, like I said, I just think it's critical, and you have to have that, and the ability for people to be able to express their different viewpoints on maybe how things are done or how things move forward, and that is just such an important piece for whatever it is, things that are happening that the City Commission is dealing with in the public realm, and working through the process of getting to where we want to go. You know, the more different viewpoints that we have and the more people that are at the table, I think the better the outcome is. And oftentimes, you know, taking the time to listen and taking the time to work with others is just really critical in that. And so I see the same thing within the city organization. You know, our staff has a great amount to offer, as I've mentioned before, and I think that the collaboration within our work groups, and not only that, but you know, across departments is really important. And the more folks that we have looking at things or looking at an issue or how can we deliver things better, the more ideas that we'll have to come to the table, and we'll be able to do it just that much better.
Well, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
It's good to hear a little bit of your story and let folks get to know you. And I know City Commission is excited. I'm excited to have you on board and to see what great things you do to take us onward and upward.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate
Interim
that opportunity.
City Manager as of June 1st, right? End of May, June 1st.
Soon to be.
Soon to be. There you go. That's a better way of putting it. Diane Stoddard. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next week on City Current, we'll have Assistant City Manager Casey Toomey as we talk about the 2016 budget. We've got public input sessions coming up, and we would love to have your feedback. There's a budget calendar on our website at lawrenceks.org/budget, and we'd love to have your input at these meetings. And as Diane just got done talking about, public input and community participation is critical to us continuing to do our job efficiently and effectively on behalf of you, the citizens of Lawrence. So that's all for today. We'll see you next week for City Current. Take care.